Hello and welcome to Teaching My Cat to Read. The very, hello and welcome to Teaching My Cat to Read, the very serious book review podcast. I'm definitely very awake right now, and my name is Eli.
Hi, I'm Em.
And I'm Lottie, and this week we're discussing everything about The Red-Headed League by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle.
So before we start today, I would like to mention that we are joined by a very special guest, because she wouldn't leave my room. And as I'm speaking, is she getting up? So the cat is here. As I've spoken, she's getting up to like walk around. So no, she's just moved over to a different bit of my bed. She's decided to grace us with her presence for this podcast recording in person.
She's got to try out every corner of the mattress, otherwise how will she know what is the best place to like disrupt you in everything that you do?
I do feel like the one we're talking about today is going to have a reasonable cat rating because it is a Sherlock Holmes. There is crime. And Sherlock Holmes is a cat,
it's
basically.
It's shenanigan-y crime. It's extremely shenanigan-y crime. It's possibly the most shenanigan-y Sherlock Holmes crime we've ever seen.
It's almost hijinks,
yes,
you know?
Precisely. So what were you guys' terrible summaries?
Oh, the Victorian Ocean's 11.
Yeah. I can see
I was going to say the Victorian version of falling for an email scam. Because it's too good to be true.
Local guy accidentally invents David Graeber's concept of bullshit jobs 100 years early.
I've got, I am a thief and I'm digging a hole. Diggy
Can you
hole.
believe I was listening to the original of that today on the train?
Incredible.
Like profoundly hungover on the train listening to Diggy Hole.
That's an experience.
It certainly is.
Also, I had John Clay hits pay dirt because his name is Dirt and he's digging in the dirt. Yeah. I was like, is this too awful a pun to be allowed? But I had to get it off my chest. Had to get it out of my system.
I like that.
I feel like I kind of want to give a summary of this book, or this short story, because I hadn't heard of this before. I have absolutely no context for it. So, I mean, as like any good Sherlock Holmes, Sherlock and Watson are just chilling, and somebody comes up and says, "Hey, I want some help." And this person is Mr. Wilson, who's a pawnbroker, and he has very bright red hair. And he has come to talk to them about the fact that he was signed up to this league where basically he was paid £4 a week to go and copy out the Encyclopedia Britannica for 4 hours a day.
Well, nice work if you can get it.
And he sort of was talking about this organisation, this Redhead League, that was set up by this American who wanted to have more redheads and therefore had this like league.
He wanted to like pay redheads way and like
redheads like have, you know, better, is it DEI for redheads? Can we say that?
Basically, yeah. Or like not nepotism exactly, but
I was just thinking about the whole copying the Encyclopedia Britannica thing, and my brain just went, the children yearn for the scriptorium. And so basically this guy goes to Holmes and Watson, and Holmes and Watson like, okay, this is absolutely nuts, let's go. Actually burst out laughing like, what the fuck is your deal?
The reason he goes to them is not because this is insane, which obviously it is, but it's because one day he turns up and they're like gone. That he turns up to the room where he's been asked to go and copy out the encyclopedia, and there's like a notice saying we're gone, and nobody's ever heard of these guys. No, like the only person he's ever heard about it from outside of this advert in the newspaper was his assistant.
His assistant who spends mysterious amounts of time in the cellar at their work.
He's a photographer, it's fine. Yeah.
But yeah, it's totally
very
normal.
Strange. And then
the thieves yearn for the mines, in fact.
And then Holmes and Watson go and stake out a bank vault because the whole thing is basically a facade for this criminal to steal money from the bank. And the reason they have to go and pay this guy £4 a week to copy out the Encyclopedia Britannica is because this guy's pawn shop has a cellar in it, which they were digging from, at Ocean's 11. to get into the bank vault and steal stuff.
Oh, is that really what they do in Ocean's 11? I've literally never seen it.
Oh no, it's not quite. They don't do a tunnel.
They steal stuff on a bike. Like they steal stuff on the bike.
It's a sort of switcheroo type situation with bank vaults and
There is a bank vault. They steal gold from a bank vault. It's basically Ocean's 12.
It's funny because I feel like, weirdly, I feel like this is a beat that I have seen in a lot of things. The kind of like, hey, there's a weird sort of like, we don't really understand what's going on, but whoops, there's a secret tunnel. I cannot put my finger on a single instance where that is true. And it might just be that I read this at a sufficiently formative age. Eli, had you read this before? I know Lottie said that she hadn't.
Secret tunnels in Saxe Coburg Square. I had not read it before, but I did watch, I think, probably every episode of the Jeremy Brett Holmes adaptation growing up multiple times, because my mum loved them. I mean, still does. She's alive. And I was hoping to have time to rewatch it in prep for this episode, but I didn't get around to it. So instead I was going to read the short story anyway, which I now have done, and it took about 15 minutes because it really is short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've told you guys before, I think, that these are the short stories that I used to use as revision breaks in undergrad, because they're like the exact right length to be like, oh, I've had a satisfying break, and now I can go back to the...
They're like a little snack for the literary mind.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah. Oh, I also found out, weird fun fact, that the copy I have of The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes is from 1895. So only
that
3
is
years...
very cool.
Only 3 years after it was first published, which is batshit.
Yo, what? That's incredible.
Right?
That is almost older than my sewing machine.
And like, genuinely, I just never looked before. It was just like, you know how sometimes you get a secondhand book in a secondhand bookshop and it's a hardcover?
Yeah.
So it could be from anywhere from like, the late 1800s to like, I don't know, 1950 or something. You know, you don't go in expecting it.
Like the way that the typing looks is the same, yeah.
Yeah, you don't go in expecting it to be from 1895, but that's just been sitting on my bookshelf since I literally don't know when. It might have belonged to my mum before me. I don't know.
I think that's very cool, and you should look after it. And
I'm taking as good care of it as I can. I haven't let the cat scritch her face on it even once.
Oh my goodness. Not even in the pursuit of her literary endeavours. I could just see her walking around my room because I can see her tail moving in and amongst like the piles of my stuff. Yeah.
She can sniff the Project Gutenberg version. She loves to scritch a chin on the corner of a laptop. That is her whole deal.
We need to ask her what like she thinks of the book. the old version.
Hey Gothmog, what do you think of the book? She just looked at me as if I'd grown an extra head. No? Okay. I think she still can't read.
I think if we can tell one fun fact about this book is the fact that there was a bank robbery in Baker Street of the Lloyds Bank in London in 1971 that was literally inspired by this book.
No way!
They rented a leather shop 2 doors down from the bank, tunnelled in during the weekends.
That's fucking incredible! Oh my god!
That's wild. I love that.
Like, mad props to those thieves, though.
Baker Street, no less.
Yeah. Police found members of the gang soon after the break-in. One of the burglars had signed the lease for this shop they were digging from in his own name.
No, at least sign it as Vincent Spaulding. My God.
Like, this is the thing, is that they're clever enough to have stolen it from a plot from a Sherlock Holmes novel. Story.
And made it work.
Gone into Baker Street, all of this. But they did not notice that, the guys in this book use false names every single goddamn time. So it's not that long a book. I don't know how you missed that detail.
Brilliant.
Incredible.
So this is one of the books where Holmes and Watson aren't living together, right? Because Watson's like, I called upon him. It's not like, we were chilling at our house together.
Yeah.
And I always forget that those exist because in my head, they always just live together.
Yeah. No, it is weird.
But it is classic, Watson cannot stop describing Holmes like he's in love with him, which he is.
I'm sorry. I also picked up on this. I'm like, babe.
Oh, yeah.
Babe.
Yeah, that's great. This is actually a great one for character descriptions. I think most of the stuff I wrote down was stuff that people were saying about, like, the way people were describing other people. Like, the banker, Watson describes as having an oppressively respectable frock coat. which is just like the most weirdly judgy thing I don't know what that means. Oppressively respectable. I love it, but
I'm sorry, it's too respectable for you to come in the stakeout.
It's like, Watson's such a little freak. I love him. And like Holmes is like, oh, Watson, I know you love weird stuff like I do.
I know that you're like
an appreciator of the. Yeah, I know you're an appreciator of all the bizarre stuff.
Yeah,
you'll like this.
You're a connoisseur of the weird and wonderful. Come look at this bizarrity. Yeah.
It just says to Watson, hey, we need to go and listen to a music concert.
Yeah.
But bring your gun, because it might get spicy afterwards, with shooty, stabby. But yeah, it'd be a fun time. Watson's like, yeah, babe, I'm well up for this.
Yeah.
And then they go on like a little stakeout.
It's like a date. It's like, what time will you need me? Oh, like 10 o'clock.
You know what it is? It's like if you had to do an escape room as a date night.
Unironically, I think, like, a third date or something, an escape room is not a bad time. It's not a bad idea, because, like, you're going to learn if that person is really, really annoying in those kind of situations, which, yeah.
It's important. It's like the, in Leverage, the whole did he freak out when there was a bomb in the lift situation. That's the real test of a future partner right there. Is like, hey, you're in tight quarters and you have to solve a puzzle.
Yeah, Holmes would not enjoy escape rooms, though, I think, because they're artificial.
I tell you what, I wonder if he would have and this is not to prop my own intelligence up here. This is an interpretation thing. Whenever I've done an escape room, I find it really hard to tell the difference between things that are incidental and things that are clues. Like, how deep am I going on my whole, like, what details do I pay attention to? How do I tell that a detail is intentional versus just this is a space that has stuff in it?
Yeah, how do you know if it's a puzzle piece or just there in the room? Yeah.
Yeah. And I think to be fair, I think some escape rooms are better than others at kind of signposting that.
I've never done an escape room. I feel like I'm missing out.
I've only ever done one, I think, and it was the Oliver Cromwell escape room in Ely, Halloween edition.
Yeah.
I did it with a bunch of friends from the Science Fiction Society, and we just destroyed it. We swarmed that thing, and the people came up afterwards and were like, A, that's the fastest anyone's ever done it. B, you're all insane. How are you all drift compatible? And we were just like, yeah.
Fantastic.
So, guys, there is actually an official Sherlock escape room in London.
That does not surprise me
Interesting.
at all. I would say every single...
Road trip!
I mean, to be fair, that would maybe be an improvement on my previous ones. Every single escape room I've ever done has been a team-building exercise with my work colleagues.
Ah, no. I mean, I can see that being enjoyable with the right people. I'd probably do that with my current colleagues, but with the wrong people, that's going to be insufferable.
The first one was kind of fine. There was a lot more space in the first one, and we hadn't had a pandemic, so it was a lot less stressful in that regard. And the second one, I ended up with a lot of people that I like, but there were way too many of us in the room, so it was really hard to contribute. It's just too many cooks, in a cramped space, and I was feeling quite panicky about the
air.
Yeah, that sounds like a stress.
The dreaded lurgy, but it was a pretty well set up one. I did enjoy it. I would generally speaking recommend the experience. Yeah, I don't think Holmes would enjoy it. I wonder if it's the sweet spot for Watson.
Ooh, maybe he'll get to feel like Holmes.
Yeah, and he's got this he's picking stuff up. I mean, Holmes talks about it in, I think it's this one, or I went and read the one immediately after it, so I might get those confused. But saying, oh, you've picked up some of my stuff, because you see Watson looking at the client and being like, oh, well, he's wearing X, Y, Z, Z, and this, that, and the other, and this makes him look like a respectable tradesman of the Y type,
Yeah.
So it's not that he's not observant, it's just, it's like a levels thing. So I wonder if the escape room is actually, perfectly pitched for Watson's. And Holmes will start chewing the furniture.
It's not that he's not observant, it's that what he's missing is often the deductive step of
what does this mean?
Exactly. And this is the story where somebody, I think it happens more than once in Holmes, but Holmes explains what he does, right? Yeah. He said, here's
really
how I can tell that you've been writing a lot recently. And the guy goes from being like, oh my God, how do you know that? To be like, oh, well, I thought you must have done something clever, but now I see it's nothing at all. And Holmes is like, excuse me the fuck?
Yeah, he's like, I really must stop explaining to people how I do this because it's like the disrespect is untenable.
Yes.
It's a good time.
Guys, I want to ask a question. So we know that this whole thing is a ruse to get Mr. Wilson out of his house for 4 hours a day for a week while they dig the tunnel. Has anybody got any other ideas of how you could get Mr. Wilson out of the house for a week? Because I was like, how I want to be a fly on the wall in that planning meeting, right? When the criminals were all getting together and go, right, so we've got this guy, so we found the apprentice, and he's like, right, so we've got to get him in the shop, and the only feature that this guy can remember is the fact that he has red hair, and they're trying to think, how can we get this one ginger well, it's not ginger. They've got thousands of the ginger people of Victorian London.
Which
gone into this newspaper advert.
It's like the fucking Mary Poppins. Like, there's nannies all the way down the street thing, and then they just yell, the position has been filled out the window, and they just vanish.
They all go, and they all just, saunter off back into the streets. And I'm like, what? How did they think? Is it because he has no family? They literally have no other reason that they can just go,
maybe.
Hey, also, could he not just say,
all expenses trip to the Bahamas, I guess? Except it's the Bahamas full of, slavery at this point.
Why the fact, but not only the fact that this guy, I mean, I don't blame Holmes and Watson for loving, because when I would listen to an audiobook, and I was like, so this guy has seen the advert, being told from his apprentice he's known for 1 month, who he is underpaying, and he doesn't think that's maybe, fishy. And then he's gone, I'd like to earn a side gig at £4 a week. You know when you get the email scams, and you got to report it for phishing at your workplace or whatever.
Time. Yeah.
It's for how to make money with no money. It's like, here's an idea, it doesn't work. Or I'm a prince from abroad and I have, please, I have £1 million and I need to give it to you.
How paranoid do you have to be to think that a newspaper advert is targeted to you, though, right?
That's true. Yeah.
But it's just such a weird advert.
And if you've got your assistant who's you have no reason to think would be lying about it, to being like, oh yeah, I heard about this league. Yeah. I know about this.
It would be a very weird coincidence, wouldn't it? Yeah.
And and if you don't leave the house, which he doesn't leave the house, right? He says sometimes I go weeks without setting foot outside my door.
Did they, so what I want to know is, I don't know, I can't remember if it's mentioned in the stories how far away this guy's shop is to the bank, because
they're back to back.
Did they? They're back to back, right? So they had to fight. So sheer coincidence. This guy is a complete recluse. There's plot armor on this guy for being an absolute moron. He's a recluse, so he doesn't leave the house, so he has no idea what's going on. But then, not only that, other people saw this advert and they all turned up to this thing.
I think that's the implication.
Or B, they found a load of ginger people in London, Victorian London, and paid them to turn up at that time to make
I think they did just run that advert, and lots of people who happened not to be Jammers Wilson.
Shitty jobs in Victorian London. If you want an easy job indoors, no heavy lifting, you're not going to be short for.
I don't blame it. But then when it's what is the task? Is that to copy out the Encyclopedia Britannica? And he went home and slept on it. It was well, I need the money, and I'm like.
See, I've got to say, the other thing I love about this is that it's not he did get paid for it. He hasn't actually lost anything by it. The only way this could have backfired on him is if the police had found the tunnel after the robbery and assumed he was in on it.
Yeah.
Which is assuming a lot.
Which, to be fair, is he left holding a fairly significant bag, if that's the case.
Yeah, but I genuinely can't imagine that they would have just left the flagstones up, I feel like...
No.
If you can get away without them having any idea how you did it, so much the better,
that would be incredible.
So it's they are basically stealing from the bank and then being going, well, we still honour our payment of £4 a week to...
Well, because if they're paying him, they need him to keep going for 8 weeks, until they finish their tunnel, which happens to be 8 weeks.
But it's also the fact he never went into his own cellar.
Yeah.
Just...
It's fantastic. I love it.
You know what? You know when you read these things where it's like, I was scammed out of all my life savings because I added a friend on Facebook.
I tell you what, the thing is though, nobody is too smart to fall for that shit, you know? Like,
right.
If you're having a bad day...
At time of recording, Troy Hunt, who runs haveibeenpwned.com, got fished recently.
Yeah.
And he's like the guy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's got to happen. Like, the sheer, like... Particularly, I mean, this one not so much. This is an extremely targeted one. But, like, modern ones rely on it being very little effort for, like, a very wide net that you're casting, right?
Yeah, this isn't phishing. This is social engineering in the Holmes story.
Yeah, absolutely. And that reminds me, this was another thing that I really thought of with this. My whole brain for the whole of this short story was just like a web of like, I've connected 50 dots, you ain't connected shit. But one of the things I thought about was that I feel like I feel like the Leverage team would get away with this. I feel like this is a thing that the Leverage team has absolutely tried. Because there's always a bit where they're like, well, we need to steal this location so we can pretend to be an art exhibit or a fake business or whatever. And they tell everybody that there's poison mold in the ceiling or there's a terror attack called in or
they switch the signs over on some offices. Or...
Yeah. And it's that whole bit of we need to use this space, so we've got to trick the people who rightfully belong in it out of the space.
Yes.
And I can genuinely see Hardison trying that at some point. Like,
so the only material consequence for Mr. Wilson at the end of this is that he no longer has his incredibly underpaid good value assistant.
Yeah.
So like he's up 32 quid, but down an assistant that he can't afford to have an assistant that he pays proper rates. Because he's sort of like, saying, well, you know, if I didn't have this guy, I can't actually afford to pay him properly.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
So, but that would be the case whether or not they got caught, because he's not like Vincent Spaulding's not going to hang around.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the thing with it being really short. Most of what I have to say is things where I'm like, man, I really like this line when.
I mean, I would like to know.
I really like the line where I like the bit when Holmes is like we're talking about the policeman and he's just like, this guy sucks, but if he gets hold of somebody, he will not let go.
It's like as brave as a bulldog and as like stubborn as a lobster when he gets his claws on somebody or something.
Yeah, right?
Which I really enjoyed as a contrast to Watson's like the oppressively respectable waistcoat. It's very like the couple that judge together stay together. You know?
Yes.
They're bitch for bitch.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's a good time. Also, Watson describing Holmes as looking like a bird with a strange bill with his pipe and his 3-pipe problem and everything. I enjoyed that.
Oh, I always love an excuse to read a Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah,
they're just... They are comfort reads for me, and part of it is because I did grow up watching the Jeremy Bretts, you know, like every weekend or something. My mum would have one on.
Yeah.
And they are, I mean, they're so good. They're such good adaptations
and,
as
like,
well.
They're just good to spend time with. You know what I mean? You feel like you kind of feel like you've been invited into Baker Street, and here's your old friend Holmes and Watson, and they're going to solve a case. I wouldn't necessarily characterize Sherlock Holmes detective stories as cozy mysteries necessarily, but generally speaking, with a few exceptions, I think they don't tend to be miserable,
they're
depressing.
Not grim. Yeah.
They're not grim and gritty, you know? I think Study in Scarlet maybe comes closest. The Mormon interlude.
Yes. Yeah, and like some of the adaptations absolutely go very dark places. So like Elementary, which invents a lot of its mysteries, has some really awful like abuses that happen in there.
Absolutely, yeah.
But in Holmes, it's like, because you know it's all going to turn out all right because he's going to solve it.
Yeah.
But, you know, sometimes there are murders and then that's inescapable that somebody has been harmed past the point of reparations. But that's just, yeah.
Yeah, it's a cost of doing business. Unfortunately, the lack of murder in this one does mean that we cannot ask our classic question, would a necromancer help?
Yeah, there's literally no dead people in this story.
Yeah. Unfortunate.
Oh.
You can ask the ghost of London town. It's described...
I was going to say, no ghosts for you to see, huh, Gothmore? She doesn't care. She's climbing on my lap. Hello.
I think we should ask some fun questions about this book, because if you have listened to this episode and you listened to our previous episode on the Hunger Games, we forgot to ask any fun questions about that book, which we will do in a mini episode at some point in the future.
Yes.
So, starting off with, what would Benoit Blanc do? in this novel?
I think he would, like... I feel like I want to see him pretending to buy something from the pawn shop and, like, blundering through and, like, bluffing his way into the cellar to be like, oh, you got any antiques down here?
Yeah.
And his insane accent. And, like, oh my, I seem to have found your tunnel. Or, good God, that was atrocious. But, you know, I could see him sort of Columbo style almost, being like,
just one more thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. I feel like the thing about a Sherlock Holmes as well is that you don't tend to have a parlour scene. They're not heavily populated.
This is true.
No,
stories,
they're
are
not.
they? And if he's explaining something, he's usually explaining it to Watson. Which, hey, does that if it's a Benoit Blanc story, does that make Watson the young woman that he befriends in the course of the case? And it's like...
Well, she's involved in the case each time in the Knives Out movies. Like, she is the central figure who's been wronged, right?
Yeah, which I've got to say is another thing where it's like, hey, it's not noir in any other way, except that a young woman has come to me to ask me to help with a problem that she can't fix.
Yeah, or in the first one, like, she's not even... She doesn't even know that she's been wronged, really. The cat is squishing her face into my hands and making the loudest noises, and they refuse to be caught on mic.
Maybe she's the ghost. Maybe we should think about that.
How do we interpret this message from the cat about the book? Like, does that
read the omens in her warbles?
What are her omens?
I think she likes crime and sneaking around in the dark and Holmes being just like, yes, I've solved it.
Yeah. So I'm going to trade you a fun question for a longer question, which is, how does this compare to the other Holmeses that we've done for you guys?
This one is just a lot more straightforward. It's like, the motive is very simple. It's sort of pure greed. Although you get the sense that John K. does a lot of what he does for the love of the game as well.
Yes, yeah.
Pure greed. No sort of long-running, tragic, you know, this is to do with someone's upbringing, or, you know, there's a long-lost family member, or intrigue at the highest levels of Parliament or something. All the people involved are, like, pretty ordinary.
Yeah. And no red herrings, really, is it? It's, even though Watson doesn't know can't follow what's going on. And it's the saddest little, like, of feeling that he often feels oppressed by his own stupidity when it comes to Holmes. And I'm just like, oh my God, somebody hug him. But anyway,
yeah, like, also, like, feeling oppressed by your own stupidity is such a mood, I won't lie.
Yeah.
But, like, no high emotions in this one. Unlike, you know, say, Scandal in Bohemia, where, you know, she's doing everything because she wants to go and marry her husband, and there's betrayal and sort of bitterness and all of this stuff.
And I feel like that one is there's more of a kind of, not a twist, but I guess a twist, but also like a more of a kind of, we're being led off on another trail thing. Like, we think one thing's happening and actually a completely different thing's happening. Or, you know.
Whereas here it's just bizarre and then it's explained.
Yeah.
I do think this is an example of a story where Conan Doyle came up with the mechanism for the crime and then crafted everything else from there outwards, which is so obnoxious when Moffat does it in the Sherlock TV shows, because his thing is incredibly convoluted and, you could never possibly guess it. But this isn't that convoluted. It's just, like, once you know that Holmes knows... recognizes the description of the assistant.
Yeah.
You, as the audience, have all the pieces to put it together.
Yeah.
It's not so outlandish that you couldn't puzzle it out on your own.
Yeah, it's a bit of a, like, you go, oh, yeah, no, of course, with the tapping the pavement and the guy being in the cellar all the time. Like, we have all the information, which I will say is another thing that's different from Study in Scarlet, because I think we talked about it at the time, but there are definitely scenes in that one where you can tell that Holmes has spotted something, but the narrator doesn't actually tell you what it is he spotted, or, I mean, in this he doesn't tell you the import of what he spotted, but you very clearly see him noticing stuff, you know, like the pavement, hitting the pavement, and, like, checking out the assistant when he knocks on the door and stuff, you know.
There's sort of not a lot of stuff happening in this book as well, partly because it's so short, but you get the facts. Holmes goes on, they go on like a little fact-finding mission, and that's it. Yeah. You know, there's no unfolding of, like, you know, by the time Habers Wilson is in Holmes's study, it's all already over. Yeah. Basically. It's over for the criminals.
Yeah. As no, Holmes doesn't have to run off and live in the hills for weeks at a time. So,
yes. He doesn't have to go into a disguise as well. No disguises in this one.
That's true.
I was going to say one thing, like, I actually quite enjoyed about this story is the fact that I feel like, it's a scam, and this is kind of why I made fun of, like, how does this guy know it's a scam?
But you can't, how would you ever intuit in what way it's a scam?
I would never have worked out how it was a scam. It's a very easy read, like you said, Em, like, reading it, it's sort of a brain refresh. Like, you don't need to be really, really smart and, like, read into it to understand it. It's a fun, short read.
Yeah.
Where there is a conclusion at the end, it's a satisfying conclusion. Holmes catches the bad guy. Whoopie-doo. And... But it's still like a fun, like, I listened to it. It was just under an hour to listen to. So it was a really short, like, audio book.
I mean, I read it twice. That's how short it is. That never happens.
Fun fact for anyone else who does have Audible, the entire Sherlock Holmes collection read by Stephen Fry is, like, available with Audible. You don't have to use credits or anything for it. So that's, like, cool.
Nice.
But yeah, I kind of appreciated that the fact that it was, short and sweet. And it had a nice conclusion compared to, like, whichever one had the Mormon interlude, which I was like, oh my dear God, please let it end. Like, I was like, oh my God, the backstory. Like, and I think I said that at that time. And in comparison to, say, a Poirot novel, anything like that, where it's obviously a longer novel, it's more complex. And I think, we've talked about this before, that Agatha Christie, that the way you're sort of led through it as a reader quite delightfully. Whereas this is like, Holmes is going to work it out. You don't have to know how it's going to happen. It's just fun. It's just fun shenanigans. Like, that's
and
it.
There's no, like, secondary mysteries, because so much of, like, Poirot novels are misdirections because everybody's got secrets, but are they relevant? Yeah, whereas this is just straight up and down. It's, like, the minimum viable mystery story.
Yeah. It's like we were saying about the lack of parlor scene. It's like, these are, like, fairly underpopulated as crime stories go. But I think that's, in some ways, that's almost what's so delicious about it, isn't it? Because it's so, like... Yeah, this is a complete mystery. All of the stuff, all the mechanics are there perfectly. And you have a fun little time with your mates Holmes and Watson, It's like...
Exactly.
And to do that in that short a space that deftly, I think is really impressive. And I'm not surprised that Conan Doyle said that most of his favourite Sherlock Holmes stories are in this collection, because I do think there's some absolute bangers in here. Oh, that reminds me, I was thinking about other short stories that are in this collection that we've talked about in the past. Do you think this is one that could stand adaptation? And if so, which of the, like, fictional, the TV or film Holmeses would you like to see do this one?
I mean, for me, it's always Johnny Lee Miller in Elementary. To me,
I think,
Oh, hang on. Thinking of weird rogue Holmes adaptations. What would a House MD episode of this look like?
Well, I think that one, it's a medical trial for redheaded men, isn't it? We'll pay you to go to a medical trial and then, he's turning up at the hospital every day, and House just happens to catch him as he's been set loose from it, and be like, dude, what the fuck is going on?
He's a visitor at House's clinic that he has to do, that Cuddy makes him do when he's been too annoying. And it's like this running bit throughout the episode that this guy keeps turning up and they're like, what is going on?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I do think that was one of the things that struck me reading it, actually, was that I thought, you actually don't need to work too hard to make this, like, a modern story. Like, any of the modern Holmeses could... Well, not Moffat's, obviously, but, like, any of the other modern Holmeses, you could make this work, I feel like. Which is wild when you consider how, like, on the face of it, weird the initial premise is.
Like... I don't think this would work for the Stephen Moffat adaptation of Holmes, because it's too full of itself, like the TV show, to do something as fun as this. Like, I agree with you.
He would have to complicate it and be like, it's actually
like some convoluted backstory.
It turns out that they are all related or something, or I don't know.
And it's just not fun. Whereas Elementary... that it could do it as a short episode, and it would be fun. I think that's the thing that's got to have the fun of the book in it. It's a, like you say, there's no it's hijinks crime. It's not nobody dies. It's a bank robbery.
I do love a bank robbery. Like, the thing is about a bank robbery, unless somebody shoots a security guard, in which case I have to say, I'm with Parker on this, you're doing bank robbery wrong.
Yeah.
Like, it's
a victimless crime, really.
Or at least usually the shenanigan ones are, like, if it's a hold-up, that's a very different vibe. But, like, we got in and out and nobody noticed and it was all very clever. It's like, oh no, the bank has lost some money. I'm so sad.
Again, it's a bit like, if you've become a dragon that has that much money, it's your moral imperative as a human being to see if you can try and steal some money from it.
Yeah, you've got to Bilbo it up.
Yeah.
No, standard. Although I've got to say, I do find the guy obnoxious in this, with his whole little, I'll thank you to unhand me, peasant, the blood of royals runs through my veins.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Yeah, it's not because he's a criminal, it's because he's a wanker.
Yeah,
like,
yes, that's true.
He's both at the same time.
Also, I love that the cop is just like, he's like, oh yeah, I will say please and sir, as I very daintily remand you into handcuffs, and then the police carriage. He's like, sure, I'll call you your highness, I don't give a fuck. Yeah, you're still going to jail, mate. Just very delightfully unfazed by the nonsense. I appreciated that about him.
Yeah.
And it was like the fact that this guy is, it's a ridiculous setup for the crime. Like, I'm sorry, I'm just going to keep going back. This setup is ridiculous, but it's absolutely bonkers.
It's delightful though. You can see why Holmes was like immediately like, yeah, no, absolutely, I want to take this case, and also why when the guy finished explaining it,
just starts
Holmes and
laughing.
Watson just burst out laughing. Yeah,
because it is ridiculous, and I think it just makes it more fun.
Oh, it's a good time. I tell you what, it's a perfect palate cleanser for after Hunger Games, isn't it?
It is. It is a very good palate cleanser,
but so serious.
Yeah.
Oh no, yes, guys, who is the only human in the Muppets adaptation, and why is it the criminal Clay?
Ha!
Yeah, I think you've hit it on the nail on the head there.
He's the most boring person there. So he doesn't have an oppressively respectable waistcoat. He's not as stubborn as a lobster, and his hair isn't bright red. Therefore, he's the most boring one, and he should be human.
I do think that there's an argument for Wilson to be the only human as well, because I do just like the image of like him being ushered into a room to copy out the encyclopedia by Muppets.
Yeah, it would be Sweetums.
Yeah.
Sweetums is the big one with the red hair and the big nose. Did I make that up in my brain?
Oh, well, that's perfect then, isn't it?
Yeah.
I am so actually uneducated in genuine Muppets lore. I just know, like, from pop culture. I mean, I like Muppets pop culture, but I like second-hand osmosis.
Yeah. I keep sort of stealthily being like, every time we're like, oh, what should we watch this evening as a house? I'm like,
Treasure
nobody
Island,
else has seen Muppets Treasure Island. Come and watch Muppets Treasure Island with me.
We can maybe do that.
Next time I come up, near where you guys are, then we can watch Muppets Treasure Island. Done deal. Whenever that is.
Yeah.
Eli, has the cat given any more omens?
She's left, I think, actually.
Oh, so that's how she did.
Yeah, well, we stopped talking about the book.
She hasn't started trying to dig her way through my door yet, so...
I do think this one has a high cat rating.
Yes.
Because there is brief violence, there is crimes, there's so much lying, and it's fun lying. There's mucking about in the dark.
Yep.
As you've just said, trying to tunnel. Right?
Yes.
She started a new thing recently where she's trying to great escape her way into your room because she's so offended at not being allowed in there at all hours. Which is wild, because that's not the norm, right? She's often not allowed into certain rooms at certain times.
She's never been interested, really, before.
You didn't start growing catnip in there or something?
No. I think maybe it was while Tristan was in quarantine.
Oh, yeah. She got needy.
Well, one of our housemates was quarantining for the lurgy recently, and
Yes, and I was cat sitting for Rose cats.
Yes, yeah. So
we were minimum viable household here in our house.
Yeah, so it was just me. Yeah, and I think I did let her in to hang out with me for breakfast, and she got kind of like, what if I ensconced? She took my bed for a whole day. I didn't get a single nap for like the full day until she got bored and left at around 4:00. I'm like, finally, I can actually go to bed. I need my naps, Cosmog. Why have you done this to me? Oh, she's a horror.
I think Holmes is a napper.
Yes.
I think Holmes is a proficient napper.
Yeah. I see him like pretzeling himself in his armchair in like ridiculous pose. Also, that was another like incredible line from this that I really, really enjoyed, which was and another character bit as well. That apparently Holmes wriggles when he's happy.
I love my autistic son. I love him.
Holmes chuckled and wriggled in his chair, as was his habit when in high spirits. Adorable. I love him. Like,
oh my gosh.
Best fictional detective of all time, no notes.
I mean, he is the guy, you know?
Yeah. Although, I have recently a new favourite.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, well, I'll tell you when we get to the what else are we
I mean, we can do that now. I do feel like we have run the gamut on this story a little bit. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, there's mucking around the dark, there's tunnelling, which she has recently taken a liking to. There's violence, crime.
I think theft is a very shenanigan-y crime, and she loves to wait in the dark and ambush people.
Yes, so there's that too. So she's got a tie to the heroic characters as well as the criminals, which obviously is her natural orientation.
Yeah.
I feel like we could go for like an 8 out of 10.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm
short
totally
but
happy
sweet.
with that, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like if it was going to be higher, what would it need in order to be a higher rating?
I think there would need to be an actual cat, there would need to be a dragon, or the descriptions of Holmes would need to be more weighted towards cat than bird of prey.
Yes, I agree.
I think that's
I think an 8.
That's my general
8 is
vibe.
respectable. Oh, hello. Is that because are you back because you agree? Hello. As you can tell, the cat has just reappeared in my room.
She does love to do it.
What else have you been reading?
So, I started watching the Netflix's The Residents, speaking of incredible fictional detectives, as Uzo Aduba in as the detective, and she's doing this kind of like, the sort of iconically dressed, very like, eccentric but quite chill, like, outsider detective has turned up in the White House and has to solve a murder, but keeps like, everybody's like, hey, what's the deal here? And she's like, shh, I'm watching birds, because she's a very keen birder. And she has a list of all the birds that this one famous birder in history spotted at the White House, and she's trying to tick them all off.
That's delightful.
Yeah, it's very funny. It's very, like, sharply put together. Her outfits are just chef's kiss, incredible. There's a lot of that kind of, like, not quite full Rashomon, but that kind of, there's so many people in the White House, and they all saw things differently, and they start out lying initially, and yeah, no, it's very funny. It's very well put together. I'm enjoying it immensely. And I still don't know who the murderer is. It's very exciting. I've got 1 episode left, and I still don't know. So, yeah, heartily recommend that.
For me, I haven't been reading that much, but at time of recording, we are about 1 week out from the final episode of Severance Season 2, which was phenomenal. What a show. Oh, so many aspects of that show. I'm rotating it in my brain. It's brilliant.
It's free and the cops can't stop you.
And I got back into playing Civilization 5.
Oh.
And there has been more than one occasion where the spouse has come to my room late at night and been like, are you still awake? When was the last time you straightened your spine? Or like, I've been sitting in the dark because the sun has set while I've been playing and I just haven't moved or turned on my light. So yeah, like real throwback to university days where I played so much Civ. And that's been me for the last couple of weeks, so.
I have been listening to Catching Fire. I have also downloaded. So, and I'm annoyed myself because I had to go to London for work last week. I was like, right, I listened to Catching Fire on the train, and then I was like, oh, I just want to, because sometimes I like to go through the wiki and like read backstories. Oh, I'll go read Haymitch's, and I was like reading the thing, and I was like, hang on a minute, I swear to God this isn't in the book. And I scrolled to the bottom and it was like spoilers.
Oh yeah, there's like a Haymitch backstory novel now, yeah.
It had come out that morning.
Oh no,
like, no! Oh!
I didn't realise it was that recent.
And I was like, oh my God, I've just spoiled this book that I was genuinely looking forward to read, which is slightly annoying because like, on the Brandon Sanderson wiki for like all the Cosmere novels.
Do they do like collapsible spoiler sections or something?
Well, no, you can do a time machine back to like the version before your book was published. So like if there's like a new book published, it's basically like a page where it's like, do not read this page if you have read this book. If you want to go and like find something on the wiki, find like basically there's a whole list and you go through that. I haven't read up to like let's say Rhythm of War or something like that, and you can go back to like the version of it, a previous version of it, so you're
That's
not
really
spoiled.
cool.
That's so cool.
And I was just like, oh no. Anyway, so I'm gonna have to. So I've downloaded that on Audible now. So I got to work my way through that while I'm like on the bike on the turbo, just being like, oh my god, this book is so good, but it's so sad. So there's that, and I have been loving Wheel of Time.
Yes,
I love it when sends me messages about Wheel of Time. It makes my heart so happy.
I'm enjoying it. It's incredibly good.
They have absolutely nailed. I didn't think we were going to get the sea folk this season. They had the sea folk, and I was like jumping, my little heart and my soul jumping up and down, and like, oh my god, just everything about it. There were like there's lots of Easter eggs for book readers to read, but I just love
that.
I love it. It's not very there's also stuff where they've basically lifted pages out of the book, but you know what the thing I love, say this is said as a cis straight person, I love how queer the show is, and it's so like just there.
It's just really matter of fact. There's never any homophobia or like any of the classic, that kind of, we're making a thing of it now. It's just people are being queer all over the place. It's great.
It's just like Ran, they have an episode where Ran goes through his like past lives, and one of them he has a husband, and it doesn't matter that he has a husband. He just has a husband, and that's cool.
You know what that reminds me of a little bit is The Adventure Zone. And like particularly Balance, which is the one that I've listened to the most, where it's just like, it's just completely normal that the relationship you have might be a queer one, or your identity is something that's intrinsically queer. It's just, that's just how people are.
Yeah.
And it's so refreshing. And something that I appreciate more and more as, the last couple of years have worn on.
It's just nice to see as an ally. Like, I just like, you know what? Good. Well done. Like, this is not in the book. There's subtext in the book. It's not there. It's like they're mentioned to people to have mention of pillow friends, and they grow out of it, TM. And it's like, they don't have that. They just put it there, and it's just unapologetically there, and I'm all for it. So, yay
and like it kept,
for that.
I kind of sort of went, I was a bit like, when I started, once they introduced the Moraine Suan thing, I was sort of like, okay, there's our token queers for the series, and I genuinely didn't expect to get any more. And then we had the polyamorous throuple, and we had Elaine and Avienda hooking up.
Elaine and Avi! Oh my god,
and then there's another polyamorous throuple later, and they just kept being like, and one of Rand's ancestors had a husband, and they just sort of kept just throwing it in there. And
it's nice not to have to like search for scraps,
Yeah. And like the things that they're focused on in those relationships are all really interesting, but they're interesting in either they're fun like world building texture, or they're like, the reasons they're interesting are not because they're queer. It's because it's like, hey, being a human being in the situation that we're in is very complicated, actually. And like, which I massively vibe with.
I am so happy for the implications, especially like Avi and Elaine, because like, I remember when I first read the books when I was about like 12, 13, and it was like, they're BFFs. And I'm like, are they though? like this, no. But there are other things in the books which I'm glad that they haven't like brought, because it's a bit like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hasn't aged well, or?
Yeah. But it's like, good times.
Another thing that I'm really enjoying is that, it's funny, Lottie, to hear you talk about there being lots of Easter eggs, because I feel like there was never a moment where I went, I can tell that's an Easter egg, I never got thrown out by being like, I'm supposed to know who this guy is, they're all just like, they've got a part to play in the story, and it's like, they're just perfectly woven in. It's not like, fucking modern Star Wars where they're like, oh, look, it's the same Republic traffic cop from the previous series of The Mandalorian. Oh, look, it's the same bounty hunter that we made up for Clone Wars, and he's shown up in the Book of Boba Fett. Look at us, aren't we clever? And it's just very refreshing. It's very refreshing to be like, I didn't have to read the books to enjoy it, and I'm never made to feel like I'm missing out.
Or like a second-class citizen as a watcher of the show,
Yeah, or that the show isn't for me, which I really appreciate. And I think is pretty rare, honestly, for it to be done that well.
I think we might have to do some bonus episodes on Wheel of Time if we
Yes, I would be super psyched to do that.
Give them chocolate, but nicely. Anyway, next time, what are we reading next time? I don't know. Does anybody have?
Harrow the Ninth. We're back in Necromancer land.
Yes, baby.
I'm like, this book on Audible, I'm still so deeply confused, but I love it. It's great.
Yeah, that is the Harrow experience. I've read it 2 or 3 times and I'm still not 100% sure I know what happened. I enjoyed it immensely. No idea what happened.
I think I have a reasonable handle on it, but it's been a minute.
It's going to be a good time. It's going to be a fun time.
That book contains one of my favourite one-word reveals that turns the book on its head. And the first time I read it, I started full-on crying, bawling, like, it lives in my head rent-free.
Yeah, like, we should stop. Yeah. Let's not talk about it now. We need to do a whole episode about it. I'm like, no, you get me started on Harrow and I will just talk.
Next time.
I'm going to call it now. I think we might need more than one episode. We might have to do a turnaround.
I'm okay with that. Listen, sometimes it's got to happen.
Sometimes it's got to happen. But if you enjoyed this episode, please consider giving us a like or review on your podcast platform. It helps our podcast find more lovely people like yourselves. And if you want to recommend us some books to read or connect with us on our socials, you can do so. I think they're all linked in the description below. So say hello, send us a message, and recommend us some books to read. Big virtual hugs, and we will see you